Hello, good morning. Welcome in to another episode of Good Morning Nasdaq right here on the Clover Trading YouTube channel. That is Mike Huddie in the pitch black dark. This is me. I am Dom Mastro Mateo. It is 8:54 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 19th day of November, year of our Lord 2024. Here as we wrap up the last few months of the year on a crisp and chilly day here in Michigan and a crisp morning over there in California. How are we doing this morning, Mr. Huddy?
We're doing great. How are you?
You know what? Can't complain.
Awesome.
We got 73 of you already in here. That's awesome. Good morning. Make sure right now that you're subscribed to the channel. It's that little button that says subscribe. Hover your mouse over it, click it, and while you're over there, hit the thumbs up button as well. We like to get that number up to 50. Remember, we're live every day the market is open for free for you. Love our YouTube community here. Love all the familiar faces we see in the YouTube chat. So head on over there as well. Let us know where you're tuning in from, how you're doing. You can just say hi, or you can ask a question, because towards the end of the show, we will open it up to some Q&A, talk about any tickers that you guys have questions on, or any further questions on the tickers we discuss. But for the main part of today's 15 to 30 minutes, we'll talk about the biggest gappers of the day in small cap land and go over their dilution, their share structure, their news, and their daily charts. Huddy will give us some great explanations for what we should be looking at, and we'll talk about any biases we have or any plays we might see on them. All right, Huddy, how do you feel about this morning's gappers? How do you feel about yesterday's gappers? Some big runs. I think both of them ended up being kind of big movers throughout the day and then came back into range towards the end of the day. From last week into this week, what does that tell you here on Tuesday?
Yeah, I feel like we got it right, and I feel like we got it wrong at the same time. The one thing that I keep noticing that is really hard to ignore right now is the volume that these tickers are trading and the percent gains that they are accumulating. Pretty wild. We've seen so many, just in the past like 2 weeks, tickers trade like a billion shares in volume in a day. It's actually kind of wild just how much volume's entered the market all of a sudden. One stock, HCWB, we kind of called that 50-50, whether it was going to hold the dollar and spike or not. And of course, it held the dollar and spiked a lot, which is kind of what I typically see with these stocks that gap up towards the dollar. They like to hold it. And then was the other one, APLM. That was more. Again, it's just like I feel like a volume thing, right? Like maybe they didn't have as much of an ATM as we were kind of discussing. We have no way of really telling had they completed it or not. Started off the morning, it was kind of weak, and then had this really big spike through the highs, squeezed anyone that was in it from the open, and then it looks like they just destroyed it for the rest of the day. Which again, like that for me, I relate that to the ATM. So even if something like APLM is spiking really hard and it looks like one of the stronger stocks in small cap land, it's not something that I would ever really want to chase in any kind of way, because we know what that ATM does, and we know that what their agenda is if they are kind of manipulating this move. And I think you can see that it's not always like out the gate they're going to destroy the stock. No, they want to get a situation going where shorts are covering and they can sell into their covers. So they need to create that demand. So got it right, got it wrong. And one thing I really pick up on is the volume and the percent gains are off the charts right now. So got to be careful as a short seller, got to be meticulous.
Yeah, and on that note of volume, if you go back to when Fifi started running and we had that wave of lower price stocks, and we had, over a period of a month or two, like 4 to 8 Billy Boys, we called them, $1 billion volume stocks. And it was a rarity. It's something we hadn't seen a whole lot of in our careers. And there was a period of time where Huddy was doing the stats, and it was like, I don't remember the percent, but you were going to get a gap up the next day. And what we found recently is that is just no longer the case. Stocks are at a higher rate doing a billion shares, and they are a lot less predictable going into the next day. So that's just another sign, too, of being able to adapt, having the right people around you and the right mentors to be able to tell you that. Because if you were continually to following that cap strategy, it's been, I don't know if any of them have gone into day two. I see APLM gapping down, HCWB is gapping up, but that didn't do a billion shares. But it is something we've seen a lot of recently, as you talk about a lot of volume in these small cap gappers. All right, this morning we do have some more gappers in the triple digits. Got a couple over 100% up on the day. And we're going to start with NC, which is obviously Noko, all lower caps. 50.75 million float. They develop and manufacture battery solutions across the battery energy storage market. They're based in Singapore, but it says it's United States. So battery, you got to be thinking maybe Tesla, Huddy. Maybe as
Yeah, that's
that has
exactly
a
where my
big
brain
run.
goes.
Overall risk is low. Let's see. I don't see any news here. Looks like they did a revised timeline for reverse split about a month ago to comply with a minimum bid. I'm not reading all this. Expected to be implemented in December for a reverse split. I don't see any news. If there is news, let us know. Cash need is high as they have negative 3.7 months of cash left, but everything else is low. Not registered, not registered, not registered, not the registered. All right, so not a lot of information here. Bigger float than we're used to, but it is a cheaper stock as well. No news that we can see. A reverse split is coming, and I don't see a whole lot of offering risk. So as we pull up the daily chart, what is the first thing that piques your interest, Huddy?
Um, as a daily chart,
Yeah, sure.
I'm just there are some things in the fundamentals
Well,
in the
talk to
share
me.
structure that I think that they can tap into. I just don't know if they will. They have that equity line from 2023. They have a convertible note priced at 19 cents that's not registered. So, but maybe it gets registered. And they have another August 2024 warrant that's not registered. So you're right. There's nothing that's like standing out to me that's like crazy, but I do think that again, like these companies need cash, and this is their bloodline. So something to be aware of. I mean, even HCWB did an offering yesterday. It just was a healthy offering.
Very healthy indeed.
But yeah,
NCNC daily
NC
chart.
daily chart. I think we've traded this one in the past. I think I remember it. A couple gap and craps from early September and in October that I believe I've traded. So it has a history of kind of gapping up and then coming right back to where it came from. A couple days where it spiked really hard, a couple days where it just faded right out of the gate. So daily chart's kind of 50-50 for me, although I do believe there's overhead resistance. It's just like how much volume are we going to trade, and are we just going to absolutely overwhelm those levels that have been previously created? That's just kind of market we're in, and I have no way of telling how much volume this thing is going to trade, and I think it's going to be a lot, you know?
Yeah, first thing I know, I always go to the biggest volume days on the chart and like to see the behavior on those days. Like Huddy said, it's a stock in which on days it gets volume, it has mustered up some runs, but has been unable to hold those gains. And in the subsequent days following, it ends up being a whole lot lower. This most recent one in October has brought us to new lows down towards 8 cents. We're up in the 25-cent area right now, and as high as the 30s. I see these areas as resistance, this 31 area and this 37. And I do think those will come into play, even if it's just short lived. But also, like Huddy said, we've already done over 200 mil. I would guesstimate that we are going to do all-time highs on this volume, in terms of volume on this daily chart, pretty quickly into the morning. And whether that volume is coming in to sell it back down into the teens or push it over and have a big multi-month breakout over 37 remains to be seen. It's in the right sector, the right buzzwords, but I don't see any catalyst. So if people aren't diving into it enough and just seeing it as a gapper, that might not come into play. But yeah, that's all I really have to say is it's spiking to resistance. That makes me less bullish than anything. This isn't something I want to be long. Even when I see gappers running, like as we have seen over the past week, I really never flip that switch and just start getting bullish on all of them and wanting to buy them. I still think that the stats play out and that eventually we will hit a period where they will all fade in much larger quantities than how many of them actually run. And in terms of figuring out which ones will actually run, I've never figured it out in 8 years, so I'm not going to try now. So with all this resistance overhead, I kind of see this as it struggling with overhead supply to get through these areas. But be on watch if it's doing 500 million to a billion and it is holding up there in the 30s because it might have a bigger move. Anything else you want to add on NCNC? Noko.
I think you nailed it on the resistance points of the chart. Let's just see, what it does from here on out.
There's only one thing to do, and that's to see, right?
Correct.
Next biggest gapper on the day is, drum roll please, SOAR, or as the common folk call it, Volato. 15.7 million float. Volato is a full-service private aviation company providing modern ways to enjoy luxury private jets through innovative, efficient, and sustainable solutions. That's fun for them. Soar. You can soar with us here at Volato. That's what they like to say. One day ago, they reported earnings. Yesterday morning, it looks, and once we take a look at the chart, you can see that there was not a lot of movement yesterday, but some volume there. In terms of dilution, what do you see? How do I see they have 1.3 months of cash? What do you see in terms of dilution?
Hang on, I was reading their earnings.
Anything in there?
They sold 2 private jets.
Nice. Soar by Volato.
Yeah, so the first thing I noticed is everything is high in terms of, offering ability, risk, cash needs, supply, and kind of how I always feel about these like penny stock airplane companies or car companies. These are cash intensive companies, at least from like a general statement about, planes always need refurbishing, planes are always being depreciated, planes always need to be rebought and renewed. Same with cars, same with boats. So seems like a tough business to be in, especially for a 25-cent stock or whatever the price of the stock is now. I think you guys get my point there. And what would they have, some warrants? What does it say?
At $11.
$11. So there used to be a SPAC. They got crushed. And they have an April 2024 S1 offering in progress. So I would be slightly worried that an offering's coming here. And I think they need the cash.
Very interesting. Yes, high across the board on Volato. Let's take a look at the daily chart. Once again, a lot of days in which there was decent volume here at higher prices, which I do believe comes into play all the way up towards 87 cents. Already done much more volume than those days right now. So in my mind, I kind of think breakout or failure. And anytime you have conflicting indicators like that, and we're gapping 150% into that resistance, I think less about being bullish and more about either not being all that interested, or that when this resistance does come into play, and then the gap stats come into play, that we probably have a nice fade. But yep, good volume already. Let's go back further on the chart. You can see that it's been top left to bottom right. And only in the last few months have we really gotten any volume and tried to run. And really hasn't had a good history of running all that far. Every time it does get some sort of bounce off these lows, it ends up making new lows just a few weeks or months later, bottoming it out in the 17-cent area, all the way up in the 54-cent area right now, breaking to new highs, running and running. Probably will become our biggest gapper of the day, if I had to guess, here in the next, if it just continues spiking. What do you think, Huddie?
Again, I think we're just in a market environment where you're going to get a push in the morning. You're going to get some type of morning strength. And then even like yesterday, even on the ones that got morning strength, there was, an afternoon fade. So that's kind of been the MO. It's been this choppy morning rush of demand and volume and big percent gain. And then they have a hard time holding them because these companies, they're not really good. They're not really groundbreaking. They're really just having these bottom bouncing charts. So hard to sustain once all the volume starts chasing it near the highs into the mid morning. So that's what I'd watch out for. If it's going to be played, I think it's the morning action. The afternoon seems a little bit dicey.
For sure. So that is our second biggest gapper of the day. SOAR Volato, soar with us. I'm just writing their mascot, their mottos, because I just like the name Soar. I think there's a lot you can do with that name. So I'm happy that they chose that. But that is SOAR. Believe it or not, we still have another triple-digit percent, 100% plus gainer this morning. I wonder if this just popped up because I don't remember seeing it. Man, no, it didn't.
It's just coming up.
But it is up 128% on the day. Let me get everything set up. What was the ticker? PRFX. We're going to head on over to the tracker of dilution. Pain Reform, PRFX. A 2.15 million float, lowest float of the day out of Israel. They're a clinical stage specialty pharmaceutical company focused on the reformulation of established therapeutics. They got PRF 110 as their lead product. For local anesthetic, Ropivacaine, obviously. Do you see any news that I don't see? 11 days ago, they got a receipt of basically their shareholders' equity requirement from the Nasdaq.
Yeah, I see they're doing a 1-for-4 reverse split where their share count's going to go down. I think their float right now is 500 and their shares outstanding is 2 mil, and they're doing a 1-for-4. So that'll commence on November 20th.
Okay. They have negative 1.7 months of cash left. They have a priced offering from March 2024 S1 at 80 cents a share. We got some warrants from a long time ago, 2020 and 2021. Exercise prices of 528 and 276. Don't think those will come into play. Anything else piquing your interest here? October ATM with not a lot left on it.
2024 warrants at $1.60, not registered. And an ATM. The ATM is important. 586,000 ATM.
Yes.
So
that's it. That's all you see.
yeah, I mean, it's just this low float that's got a bit of an ATM. Like, I think it has a history of kind of failing, like all these do, but we don't really know what they're going to do at market open right now, given the current environment. It's really hard to guess which way they're going to go.
And how do you go about balancing that historical data of what overall year in and year out gappers do versus what we're going through this week?
How do I balance it?
Yeah, sure.
I stick to my strategy.
And you just
I don't have a system that I think what you can do is track market sentiment and like figure out different variables to say, are we in a good fading market? Should my, systems or my patterns be turned off right now? I think those are questions that a gap and crap short seller or long bias person should be questioning. But I'm not that smart. So I just kind of go through it. Because I know at the end of the day, over the long run, again, the bloodline for all of these small caps is dilution. So the edge kind of prevails as long as you're in a good bucket of gappers. But finding that good bucket, that's the hard part.
For sure. Looking at PRFX daily chart, not a lot going on here. Some failures on light volume back in August and September, but really nothing compared to what we're doing this morning. Pretty fresh chart with a lot of room on the chart, just to the highs of the 100-day chart is in the threes. We're down near $1 right now and up 120% from the lows of around 50 cents the past few days. And what did I say float was? Float was small. I know you said 500. I have 2.15. Whatever it is quite low. And it is gapping up quite big. So could, again, be kind of a headache right out of the gate. You might see some volatile moves in both directions because there's lots of room for the stock to move in both directions right out of the gate this morning. This is one that I personally just tend to avoid when we don't have a lot of structure on the daily chart and really obvious areas to play off of in terms of resistance like we do in the other two gappers. It really feels like a crapshoot to me and a guess on which ones will spike and which ones will fail. And so I tend to just avoid, and PRFX probably won't go anywhere near my list until 10 or 11 when I get bored and I just want to see what others are doing. Do you have anything to add on pain reform? We'll take the pain from you.
No, I just think it's a stupid low float.
Stupid low float near $1.
Yeah.
Well, those are your three biggest gappers of the day. Obviously, Soar with Velato, NCNC, Noco Noco, and PRFX, pain reform. And those are your biggest gappers, up 172, 151, and 120% respectively. Looks like we got some big gappers. That plus yesterday's two over 100% puts us at a lot already going into a Tuesday morning. A lot of action, a lot of big gappers. We will continue to keep our eyes on what they do. Trade Floor says Soar is ScamX. Did we note that? I see
Yeah,
that.
I mean, it's one of those New York Stock Exchange scam X's that some of my apps say New York Stock Exchange, some of my apps say MX. I think it's an MX.
Soar with Velato, right?
Yes.
Any
That's their
questions
saying.
you guys have, and we will wrap it up. We need one more like, by the way. We've been sitting at 49 for a while. Someone volunteers tribute. Hit that thumbs up button. Over 117 of you watching. Let's get after it. Someone says the SPY and QQQ look hot today. Awesome.
Good.
I don't check it every day. Whoa, they look down on the day. What?
Yeah, last time they're not looking good.
Anyone watching GovX? I am not.
Oh. Haven't pulled that one up in a long time.
Yeah, after its big move here in August, drifted all the way back down to its lows on the daily chart. Has had a little pop here from the twos to the high threes. It looks like a little bounce day yesterday. Towards the end of the cycle for me, in terms of keeping eyes on these things, if we set up for a breakout over the 390 area, maybe at something, but it would be spiking into resistance. But that resistance is quite far away. Risk reward would have to make sense there for me. But at the current moment, no, it is not something that I am actively keeping an eye on.
Yeah, I only like to really play GovX in the moments where there's monkeypox, like kind of in the news. That's when I feel like you get your best runs out of GovX. So, coming off the bottom with low volume, like I see the chart, there's good structure there. I think it's not a bad thing to have, like, I guess, on a peripheral watch list, but without a real catalyst driving the momentum there and the volume, I just don't know if it's going to have my interest.
I'm not going to have mine.
Definitely not going to have mine.
Thank you. More than 11 of you volunteered as tribute, so that's awesome. Seeing a lot of tickers I haven't even seen. Opinion on ag fee, AGFY.
I've heard this is like a walk-up chart. I mean,
It looks like it. Looks quite scary. You can see stock is going up a lot, 5 to 20.
Looks like a scam.
On very, very little volume, which is scary. I'll bet you if I look, the float is probably really small.
Who knows?
800K. You see how we can figure out a lot just by looking at a chart? And there's just no volume. This looks sketchy, looks scary this day from 10 to 20. And then, one halt down, and it's back at 12. If you want this type of breakout in your life, go for it. But I, at this stage of my career, value sleeping at night and feeling safe than trading charts like this, which aren't in the mainstream media in terms of day traders in our small cap market. Like I said, I hadn't heard of this one. I haven't been fully actively aware of everything going on in the market, so that could be it. But these type of things scare me. They remind me of pumps back in the day that led to a lot of big losses and a lot of sleepless nights. So yeah, it's setting up for a multi-day breakout over 22, but it's not really for me. The volume's too low, price is too high, float's too low. That leads to it getting hit with the sketch. It's sketchy to me. And then last
Very
question
sketchy.
I saw. Dom, are you watching SINT? Holding gains well and float was under a mil, plus news.
Plus news. No.
I'm not watching it. Good volume, I guess. 2 days ago, 260. Wait, is that yesterday or 2 days ago? That's yesterday, so it wouldn't even be a breakout today. We'd have to see what it does today, but I just don't like charts that are coming off their way lows after they break support and they're right back into those areas. History of gap and crap back in September.
No, you're gonna want a much better like long-term daily chart than this. You're gonna want a much better maybe catalyst or sector that this is. I wouldn't want to watch this stock.
I think there's better stock out there to keep my eye on that everyone's trading, that everyone's talking about setting up. And this is just something that isn't a breakout for today. So maybe I throw it on a super back burner watch and I look at it at 8 p.m. tonight when I make my watch list. And maybe it's either gone higher and it's there to be shorted, or it's consolidated. Maybe I'm interested to buy it tomorrow or the next day. But at this stage, really not something that I'm interested in. And, it ran yesterday a little bit, but I didn't even hear anyone. Why does it say it ran? Was that a green candle or a red candle?
I think it like gapped up and held.
Oh. It's a no for me. It's a no for me. Jenica asked if I'm watching SPPL for breakout potential. That is on a back burner watch for me, as it continues to hold up. But nothing that I see for today. I don't think it would have to do a lot in terms of volume, but I do have that on watch. Keep an eye. These are the type of charts that I do want to keep an eye on that have ran pretty huge and pretty big, that lots of people traded, that have different layers to them, have big resistance. You can clearly see the difference in the daily chart that Huddie was talking about. A stock that's way off its lows and is trying to consolidate much higher, ever since its big dump back a year ago. And, it's coming off its lows and trying to reverse trend versus something that is beaten down and bouncing off its lows. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for this morning. Sorry, guys, pneumonia. Tomorrow, 9:15 a.m., not 8:45, for some live trading. Free Wednesday. We'll have some live trading with me, Huddie, and Kyle, 9:15 a.m. And then tomorrow night, we'll have Wine Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. You're not going to want to miss it. So make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Make sure that you have that notification bell turned on, because like I said, we're live every day the market is open, and you don't want to miss it. Appreciate the likes this morning and all the questions. And we will see you guys tomorrow at 9:15 a.m. for another episode of Good Morning Nasdaq. Thank you for Huddie for being here. Thank you to you guys, and we will see you